Sticking with the NFL for the next topic, what's been going on with these refs? I mean, I've seen multiple missed calls and phantom calls all season from these professionals. I was watching the Steelers-Broncos game this past week, and I saw a crucial play where there's a blatant face mask by Antonio Brown on Chris Harris near the end zone. They gave the Steelers a red zone opportunity, and I think they converted on it. And Brown literally had his hand on Harris's face mask and grabbed him. Pulled him down, pulled his head down so he couldn't see. And first off, how was that not called? It's an obvious hands to the face and offensive pass interference. But what perplexes me the most on that play was how Harris got called for pass interference. He didn't even touch Brown. He wasn't even close. He just put his hand on up to get Antonio Brown's hands off his face mask. Obviously, this is just one call, and these refs have had multiple missed calls this year, including holding calls, where blockers clearly have hands inside the shoulders, which is legal, and on the chest plate, which is also legal, and pass interferences that are where the defender's barely touching the receiver, and the ball could be deemed uncatchable, but it's still called as a pass interference. And then on the flip side of this, there's calls where the receiver's basically getting tackled or mauled way before he's catching or allowed to catch the ball, or the ball's even close to him, I should say. And there's no call at all. And the one thing I heard, I listened to Bill Simmons a lot, and I was listening to the most recent one. It wasn't the most recent one. The most recent one I listened to was right after the Patriots-Broncos game. And the Patriots have had multiple calls against this, go against them. And in that game, there's a few phantom calls. Like Patrick Chung, when Osweiler was almost down and still holding the ball, Chung somehow got called for pass interference in the end zone. And he wasn't even within 3 yards of Demaryius Thomas. That was a phantom call right there. That's one of those pass interferences where you're not even near him kind of deal. My point is that these refs are bad. They're basically deciding games when players should be deciding them. I know with being an umpire during the summer for baseball, I've been told don't dictate the game, don't let the game be decided by your calls. And that obviously goes hand in hand with the NFL. Being all sports, the referees don't want to be deciding the game. But it should be the players as well that decide this, not refs. It's just bad. Just plain bad. It makes the NFL look bad because they hired these guys. And they're making these games almost unwatchable. It seems like, at least to me anyways, that it's either every play or every other play you see a flag and the game just drones on because of penalties. And the college game doesn't have that. I don't really watch any other. I don't watch the CFL or UFL or anything like that. Well, I know the college doesn't have that. NFL does. It seems like every play there's a flag. And one major reason that all these calls are being missed they're just bad calls is that these refs are not full time. Almost no one realizes it, but these refs have other jobs outside of reffing. And it makes sense. It's only 1 day a week. 2 if you get a Thursday and a Sunday game, or a Thursday and a Monday game kind of deal. It's only 1 or 2 days a week. And it's 4 or 5 hours a day. Maybe more if you get the pregame. Maybe it's up to 8 hours if you have a little postgame stuff. I've never been an umpire for football before, so I don't know. But it's 4 to 5 hours for the game. Obviously a little pregame, a little bit after game. But that's not a lot of game. That's not a lot of games. That's 16, 92. 92? Yeah, 92 hours for 16 weeks. That's not a lot of games, not a lot of time. So they have to resort to having other jobs. And obviously they have these other jobs during the summer and off season when they don't really have any other games to do or anything. I mean, they could ref for like summer leagues and things like that, but they don't have the NFL pay and things like that. But back to the point, I think that if Goodell wants the quality of the game to improve, which I hope he should, he needs to pay these referees more and make them full-time. The NBA and MLB does this. They have full-time refs and umpires, and they have some great games. Being an MLB umpire, yeah, you're gonna miss a couple calls, but they're not gonna be. It's gonna be like a strike or a ball missed on a borderline pitch. It's one of the toughest jobs out there. NBA the same way. It's a lot of judgment calls. It's a lot like the NFL, but there's also some obvious ones. And I honestly think the NBA does not a phenomenal job, but a good job for refereeing. And it's just getting really embarrassing to me that the NFL, they say that they want the quality of the game to increase, and they want these players to be like godly athletes and all this, and then they just have these terrible refs that are deciding the games with bad calls, blown calls, all that kind of stuff. And that needs to be changed. And one idea that I have, at least, with sticking on the idea that they need to be paid a little bit more, is why not take some of that $44 million, those tax-exempt $44 million that Commissioner Goodell gets, give to the refs. I don't think Goodell needs to be making $44 million to be a commissioner in a league that already makes a bunch of dollars off of sales of jerseys, revenue from the TV services, and everything like that. He doesn't need $44 million, and he's not doing a good job. If he doesn't deserve it. If he does deserve, since he doesn't have a true salary, that's his salary, I guess. But I think just give some of that. He doesn't need $44 million. That's almost ridiculous. Cut it down to like $5 or $10 million. Give 30 of that to the refs, and we'll get some better games, better calls, and all around make this game more enjoyable to watch outside of thinking about concussions and all that kind of stuff. But at least it'll be more watchable and not as many yellow flags out there.